I'm glad that I laid out what I want to say today, because there are a lot of people here who have stories about what they've done, case studies and things like that. And rather than tell some of them, I thought I would take someone like Joe, maybe 5 or 10 years ago, including myself, where you say, where do I start? What do I really want to do? So what I'm going to do here is I'm not going to give many answers, and I'm really not going to say anything that you haven't heard either here or somewhere else beforehand. Instead, let's try to think, if you're in a position where you don't know what to do, here are some things to think about. First of all, the plant engineer's #1 priority, and this is the perspective that I wanted to give. And if you're a supplier, look at this and see, some of the priorities that your customers are looking at. And if you're a plant engineer, I think you can probably relate to some of these. But the first one is never, ever, 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 ever run out of compressed air. And that's a given. And some of the things about it are that don't let the pressure drop below normal. You don't ever want to need to run a compressor, and you don't want to have a crisis regarding compressed air. And the assumption that it's always there and taken for granted. And Leslie said that yesterday morning too, that the plant supervision really doesn't care about it because it's not on their radar. So some of the things you can do about that are you can run more than enough, if not every compressor that you have. And this is a good one. Install a fake gauge that says 110 psi or whatever it's supposed to be. And it's amazing how well that works sometimes, because the department manager comes out and he sees something that's lower than normal but more than enough for what they need. They'll start complaining. So anyway, it's kind of it's comical, but it works. And then you can have a tech working on compressors all the time. In our company, we make carpet, we spin yarn, we make backing materials. We do a lot of different things that we have highly specialized machinery and mechanics, technicians who work on that. We want them to spend their time working on that. Those are the things that are proprietary information to us and things like that. You might be able to find somebody who can come in and fix your compressors for you. So looking at alternatives, what can you do if you're in that position? Well, first of all, why are we doing this? Compressed air, no secret, I think everybody here has heard it probably a dozen times already, that it's a large part of the plant electric bill. It doesn't get viewed in the same account. Now, what I mean by that is a lot of times the electric bill goes through accounting somehow, and it gets paid, and it's not necessarily tied to anything in the plant. And there, at the same time as the plant engineer or whatever exact role, you have a lot of costs that are associated with the maintenance of all the equipment that you have. So you want to be able to put those together, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. So nearly every system that's out there can be operated more efficiently. And I say nearly. I mean, you can pretty much say everyone. It's a matter of to what degree. So. So how do we do all that? First of all, and again, I'm going to reiterate what Joe was saying. Look around this conference here. There are many people here that have services and products here to help. And nobody here, I think I'm saying it okay, that nobody's here to sell snake oil. But as the person responsible for what's in your plant, you're going to be the arbiter of what is the right thing for you. That's your job. You have to pick out what is important and what you think is going to work for you, and then talk to people and think that way, and you'll come up with the right questions to ask and the right places to look. So when we look at a compressed air system, again, I'm reiterating a lot of things, but efficiency depends. It's CFM per horsepower, horsepower per 100 CFM, CFM per kW, whatever terms you want to use, it doesn't matter. You can look at it at one spot. A lot of plants have a constant load. Most plants have a varying load. So what you want is a system that that adapts to whatever load that you're running, be it first shift, second shift, third shift, days, weekdays, weekends, or whatever's going on. You want it to be running as efficiently as possible at all times. And the reliability part of it depends on the care that you give to the system, not just taking care of filters and oil changes and things like that, but keep tabs on the age of equipment, monitor things. There's all kinds of new equipment out there for vibration monitoring and pressure monitoring that you can put in the cloud, or you can put into your plant into your plant data analysis system. Whatever those are upgrades that you can do to existing equipment. You don't always have to go buy something new. So the two are related, because a high-performing system is typically well cared for, and it's going to be very reliable at the same time. I borrowed this slide. This was to me, this is a classic. I borrowed it from Frank Moskowitz. He had it in his session yesterday. It really tells the story, and when you want to educate your financial people, your production people, as to why you think you want to optimize compressed air, show them this slide here, because there's so much of that energy that's just wasted. It's in heat loss. Now you can recover it, but at the same time, if you don't need to use any more of it than necessary, you're better off not doing that. So again, I like this. This is factual here. This is good stuff. So look at your equipment. Compressors. That's really the main one. But look at your dryers and also your drains that you have in your system. Make sure that what you have is good. Look around the show. There's a lot of new equipment out there. Some of it might be there to replace some of your old stuff. Controls. If you operate more than one compressor at a time, there's a good chance that you could use a controller that will sequence, that will start, stop, whether they be rotaries or centrifugals or even reciprocating. It's a system will keep you. It'll just run the system more efficiently. You're not. Your pressure will stay at one spot. Again, that's the most efficient way to do it, rather than having like pressure sequencing on units. You're always running at a higher pressure than what you need in your plant. So and the other thing is monitor your system performance from anywhere. If you have a high temperature, high filter DP or something, get that into a data analysis system somewhere, so that you can monitor it from your desktop, or it can send you a text. You see a lot of these neat things out there. You can do that with your compressed air system too. So when you're looking at talking about services, do you feel an audit's in order? Do you want to do that? If you do, if you're thinking that far ahead, before you get somebody in, look at some of the obvious things that have been talked about already. Air leaks. You don't need to pay an auditor to come in and tell you have 50% air leaks. If you have the wherewithal and the talent in your maintenance staff to go hunt down some of those things and repair them. That's basic blocking and tackling, as we say, that you can get that out of your way. Let an auditor come in and look for some of the things, as Joe was talking about, piping systems and drains and things like that may not be as obvious. And it really happens. We have some plants that are 40, 50 years old, and what's running in that plant right now, there may be 10% of what was there originally, as far as equipment and processes and how they're done and things like that. When somebody puts in a new piece of equipment, they need a compressed air for something. They'll go find a pipe. Hopefully they'll find a valve. They'll tap into it. Nobody really understands or really cares what's upstream from it, unless they start having problems later on. And it's always, not always. I won't say everybody does that, but it's quite common that somebody will look at that and not realize there's an issue with it until they find out that they don't get enough flow or pressure and things like that. So, and hoses. Check your, if you have a couple things, and again, there have been case studies that have been mentioned here where, somebody's got 50 feet of hose and then there's two air drills or guns or something coming off of them. And, those would give you a lot of trouble and make your system pressure higher than what it really needs to be. So, and in terms of maintenance, now I mentioned before that we do use a lot of outside sources for maintenance of our equipment. We have some people who are very capable of maintaining a compressor, but they're also capable of taking care of some of the specialized equipment that we have in our plant. And so the thing to do with that is to develop a good relationship with one or more suppliers that you have available to you, and keep them on their toes. Make sure that they're looking out for your best interest. I also like sayings from years ago, or that I've heard over the years, little anecdotes. One of them, my grandfather used to say this about. He always bought a new car every 3 years, and he never did any work on it. He always had the dealer do work for him. He always said the sales department will sell you your first car. In this case, it can be your air compressor, boiler, washer, dryer at home, anything like that. He said the service department will sell or not sell the next units that you have. And there's so much that's dependent on having a good relationship with your maintenance supplier. They can do a good job for you. They can be proactive. They can say, I see that you're gonna need to get that filter or that heat exchanger cleaned. I can do that next month for you. Or they can come in a month later and you say things been running hot or it's shut down. He says, yeah, I saw that and I thought maybe you might want to do that someday. There's a big difference in that because they're taking care of problems that you don't have to worry about when done properly. Now, I work in the corporate group. I don't work in any particular plant. In the times I've been really working with compressed air at Shaw for about 8 years now, and there's only one time that I actually wrote a purchase order for an air compressor. The rest of them that we've purchased, I always let up to the plant engineer or whoever's responsible in the plant because of this. I say, here are 3 machines that are comparable in terms of price, in terms of performance, what the sales force can deliver, and what I think the service group can deliver. But I let the choice up to the plant engineer because they're the ones who are going to have to live with it. And I tell a lot of people that the initial cost of operating this thing is going to be forgotten long after all of the bills are being paid for the electricity and the service that's being done to it. There's also another saying that price is forgotten long after performance performance is remembered long after price is forgotten. Initial price is forgotten, and that holds true in a lot of industries. So, looking at a few suggestions that you can do. Present your compressed air system as a vital major part of your operation. It is a utility, and a lot of people just take it for granted. Keep the equipment and the compressor room clean. Get some folks to go in there and clean the place up if it looks like an old junkyard that makes noise and you think that somebody's going to look much more favorably upon it, like your boss, for instance, if they see that you're doing your job to keep it clean and keep your staff keeping it clean. Educate your plant manager or whoever is involved. Show them that graph that's in there and break out part of the utility bill, even if you have to calculate it yourself to estimate it. Put some power meters on. A good way in the age of the information technology, Get power meters on these units, get flow meters, and start really evaluating the system performance. And you can find some money. It's real easy from there to say, I can save $20,000 a year with this $5,000 investment. And that really works. And that should give you the ammunition that you need to get things done. And you demonstrate your savings using the efficiency that we're talking about, efficiency improvements, and there's usually a lot of them there. Excuse me, save the work your way into saving some of that money. I like Joe's part where some of that savings goes right off to his supplier, and you have to have a good relationship with your supplier to be able to do that. But somehow make sure you're able to fund it, or do your best to get some of that money funneled back into your system so you can do even more improvements and make it better. Another saying, we don't talk too much about safety, but it's always out there. Everybody really has a priority of safety. We're not talking about it too much here, but one of the things is people in the plant are rarely injured operating a machine or a process that's working the way it was designed. Typically when somebody gets hurt, it's because something wasn't working right. And a lot of times they were careless about something. But you keep things running well, it really lends itself towards people being safe too. So again, I haven't given any answers. I've said a lot of things that have already been said here, either today or yesterday, and will be this afternoon and tomorrow morning. But I hope maybe some of you have some food for thought and some ideas of how to frame this out. I know it can be overwhelming if you're just looking around here, if you're new to compressed air or you're new to your plant engineer position or whatever you're doing. Don't rush into anything. Look it over. Ask questions. If you take somebody's time, there's a lot of salespeople out there that'll spend a lot of time with you. It's a nice show like that. It appears that that folks will have time to work with you, and don't rush into it. And make sure that when you do your homework, so that when you go make a recommendation to your company for what you want to do, that you're confident in what it is. And they can see that confidence in what you're saying, and show some numbers, and it should lend yourself towards a successful project. All right, thank you.